Hey everyone, welcome to another painting tutorial. As requested by a lot of you guys, the viewers, here is a Purifier painting tutorial. I began by removing all of the applicable pieces from the sprues, and as you can see, there are a lot of options on this sprue. And with a sharp hobby knife, I removed all the excess mold lines from all the pieces. With detail models like this, it's always a great idea to remove all the mold lines possible. I primed all of the pieces gray using Vallejo Model Air Gray Primer. I painted a gradient on all the force weapons, starting with Skull White, and working my way through Ice Blue, then Enchanted Blue, and then a 50-50 mix of Regal Blue and Chaos Black. As you can see, I decided to do the inverse of what most people normally do with the force weapons and use white on the top and the darkest color on the bottom, just because I felt it looked really nice. I then began on all the armor, as well as the weapons, by spraying them all with chainmail paint. You're going to notice that I do all of these areas in 4 stages. The next stage is to shade all these armor areas using a 50-50 mix of Boltgun metal and Chaos Black. The key is to focus on areas that will not be exposed to the light in the end, thus to produce a really nice shading effect. For the next stage, I highlighted the areas that I knew would be hit by the light with Mithril Silver. The reason why I lightened up the armor was because these are Purifiers, and therefore their armor is slightly lighter than the normal standard Grey Knight. To protect all these areas, I gave them all a satin varnish spray. This varnish will actually tone down the colors and make them all a little bit darker. And finally, to give the models a slight blue tinge, I put a blue wash into all the recesses on the models. As you can see, I used a clean brush just to tidy up the wash and make sure it was only in the recesses. I started painting all the gold areas using Dwarf bronze. As I've said in all my other tutorials, it's a great idea to layer up GW's color metallic paints because they tend to go on very thin. After done with the dwarf bronze, my next step was to give all of these gold areas a black-brown wash consisting of a 1-to-1 mix of Badab Black and Devlan Mud. This wash will get in all the recesses and bring out a lot of the detail in these gold areas. This wash is especially important in the areas that have words, like the guns and the chest. While the washes were drying, I painted all of the helmets white and gave them all a very heavy wash of Badab Black. I then returned to the gold areas when the wash was dried by giving them a highlight of shining gold. Once again, just focus on the outer edges of the areas and keep the recesses the washed dwarf bronze look. And then I gave these gold areas one more highlight using burnished gold. Once again, I just focused on the outer edges, and this burnished gold, it does is it just gives it a really nice shine to all these gold areas when the light hits it correctly, which looks really nice. I started on the brown areas, the scrolls, the banners, and the cloak of the Justicar with Kemri brown foundation paint. This paint is awesome for laying down a really nice brown color, which you can easily paint over later. Next, I went over all these brown areas using a very thin down layer of bleached bone paint. Once again, bleached bone, what it tends to do is, because it's a very thin paint, it still leaves some of the Kemri brown under it and produces a nice two-toned appearance. For the cloak, what I tried to do was layer several very thin layers of bleached bone from the insides all the way to the edges. So the edges will be the lightest. Therefore, to blend the cloak and to give these areas a little more shading, I gave all of them a Devlan mud wash, which will bring out the nice details in all of these brown areas. I started all the red areas using red Gore paint, which layers a nice dark red, which you can later highlight over with a lighter red. Next, I did an edge highlight, basically, of all these areas using blood red paint, except for on the gun, where I tried to keep a little bit of the red gore in the recesses, and then the majority of the areas that the light would be hitting would be blood red. I then painted the staff of the Halberd, all the gaps in the armor, and the guns black. When the black was dry, I did an edge highlighting on the gaps in the armor and the guns using Codex Gray. When the black wash was dry on the helmets, I built up very, very thin layers of skull white paint, focusing more on the outer parts than the insides and keeping as much of the shading in the recesses and the edges as possible, as you can see here. By building up these layers slowly, what you get in the end is a really nice contrast on a white helmet. So it's not just white, it has a lot of variation in the depth, and it actually has some shading, which looks really, really nice in the end. I painted the eyes on the helmets first with ice blue. Then I did highlights just by small circles in the center of them using a 1-to-1 mix of ice blue and skull white. And finally, to tie these blues together and to give the eyes a little bit more definition, I gave all the eyes a watered down blue wash. And finally, I painted all of the wiring and cords on all the models Enchanted blue. And that's it. You now know how I painted up my Purifiers. Here's what they look like when they're all done. Overall, I think they turned out really well. I'm pretty happy with the way that they turned out based on the amount of time it took. I really, really like the overall look of the Purifiers. That's why I decided to build an army. Plus, they're pretty competitive. So I hope this tutorial is really helpful to all you people out there watching. And I hope you all stay tuned for my next tutorials. And that's it. So as always, thank you to all you awesome people out there who watch and subscribe to my videos. You guys are awesome. Please like, comment, subscribe to my channel, favorite this video, whatever you wish. Also, you can follow my blog at paintingwithjay.blogspot.com, where I will be updating my status throughout the week. And until next time, this is Jay saying, happy painting, everyone.